So you can hear me clearly? I'm so excited to be talking to women that are a part of a sisterhood. Lots of little puzzle pieces all coming together to make this big, grand vision, this big, grand cause that you all share. And that's what I love. I've got the Institute of Women International, and I gather sisters all over the world for a cause as well. So I know that feeling when you plug in with your like-minded sisters at an event like this, how important that is to keep us all going. So I've prepared a little talk. I do have paper. I hope you don't mind. So if I'm not exactly looking directly at you, I don't want to forget certain things that I wanted to remind you of, because we're all women on a mission with a passion and a vision to change the future for our children's grandchildren. We want them to have a better life, don't we? Exactly. And we're all out there saving lives in our own unique way. So it's a cause that brings us together. And I think it brings us together as soul sisters because we're giving, we're givers, we're out there, we're contributing, we're women are naturally designed to be of service. We're nurturers. We are best for this job here that you have. It's a very important role, but sometimes I find with women, we can lack our feeling of significance. And I want to remind you today of how significant each one of you is and how that little puzzle piece that you are can feel so small sometimes, especially between conferences, that you can feel that your part doesn't play. But how do you know it's not your little bit? That's the difference that actually makes the biggest difference. So I want to remind you of that importance today. And in various ways, we're different, but where we, you and me, and those women that I lead are similar is that not only are we women, but we really care about the future of our great, 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 great grandchildren. You know, there's a saying, the Indians of America, how they used to work it was the grandmothers voted for the chiefs. And if the chiefs misbehaved and became too egotistical, then the grandmothers could vote them out. So they had to at least trust. And they just trusted. If they went to the grandmothers were naturally built innately as the birthers, as the birth, you know, delivering the new generation into the world, that we have it innately, that we will make all of our decisions and all of our actions will be in the best, will be coming from a place that is best for the longevity of our species, for the longevity of our cultures. So it was beautiful and harmonious between the male and the female sexes in the ancient Indians of America. And so the men honored the women and trusted them to make those longer term decisions to choose the chiefs, and so that the chiefs could go out and do what they were really good at, which was gathering the men to protect and fulfill that which the grandmothers decide. And I think that we can't underestimate the power of a woman and her contribution. So it might be through history that we've got a little bit lost along the way and become a little bit suppressed and lost our importance of ourself and our level of influence and the power that each one of us has. And look out when we unite, because then we become very influential, and we become through a non-invasive, non-direct, non-confrontational way, a very powerful, quiet force of just doing that which will bring about a better future. So I'll just want to have a little read of this. My mission, if you don't know me, is to set 10 million hearts free. Now, I've done a bit of research on this cord blood research and how it is saving lives, and not just what we see it now, but the potential of the research to uncover even more uses for it. So, the mission that you have, you don't even know the power of. You are the catalyst of change. Now you're helping raise vital funds for a research that will go on and could lead to way beyond what we can even fathom in our lifetime of being alive. So as a catalyst, you know, be really proud to be part of something so big, and it's fairly new, isn't it? It's quite innovative to come back and capitalize on our nature and come back to, you know, funding research that studies the power of us as we were given this vital blood that was already so pure and so healing. So I think at the end of today, I hear that you do some flame of friendship at the close, and let that remind you that you are all friends who share a special sort of a friendship, a sisterhood of kindred spirits, soul sisters sharing in a mission, in a cause, with a real desire to make the world a better place. And because of that, you should be really proud of the work that you do. And you're not, even though you may sometimes feel alone, that you're such a small part of the puzzle, you're a part of the big puzzle in this, but you're also a part of a puzzle of change for women all around the world. So we're stepping into bigger causes and becoming a part of real change, and I think that that's in itself is really important. I also want to remind you that you are not alone, and you can feel quite alone. I'm sure that many of you have traveled from all over Australia to come together, and it's cost money and it's taken time away from your family and all of that. But what the whole idea of these annual conferences, I've run annual conferences for 24 years, and what they're really great for is to remind us we need this. We need each other. We need inspiration. We need to be reminded that we're not alone, so that you can call back on this time together as you're going throughout the year, when, you know, in a few weeks, the high energy sort of starts to drop a little bit. But that's when you get out your notes. That's when you contact a sister. That's when you remind yourself of the importance of you. You're not insignificant. You're very, very significant. You're very important. You're very needed, and your contribution truly matters. It all adds up. You know, a lot of people can think that their bit doesn't matter, but you know, everything has a lot of little pieces. If it were not for my behind the scenes people, I would never achieve, you know, the kind of movement that I've been able to achieve. The love for the mission and one another is a force only you can break. So make the conscious choice to think of your sisters and encourage each other when that excitement may wane a little bit throughout the year. Because I think that's a little bit of the difference between men and women. Women really thrive on knowing they're not alone. They kind of feel that need to come together. So be sure that you reach out to a sister. Remember the reason that you joined, and when the going gets tough, remind yourself of the legacy you're leaving for your great grandchildren and the lives that you save, and come back to why you do this. Okay. There's a little exercise you can do when you go to leave today, I would like to challenge you to do a special connection exercise, that when you hug your sister and you say, you know, see you face to face next year, that you do a different kind of what I call, it's even deeper than eye to eye connection. You know, we say eye to eye, but what if you went pupil to pupil? Don't look at the face, don't look at the color of the eyes. Actually look into their pupils. Just look the black pupil to the black pupil, hold that gaze for a moment, and really send them love. You know, when you hug a person, the whole idea is that you're transferring your love to them. That's what a hug is. So there's special, you know, heart to heart hug. I was a non-hugger. I was raised, there was no hugs in my family. I had to learn to hug at the age of 32. And it's not something we're all good at, or we may have been raised, you know, where it was a pretty tough love growing up, kind of, you know, get on with it, you know, I love you. Or maybe we've never really heard the words, but it's never too late to learn to do a bloody good heart to heart hug, right? Your heart's on your left side, her heart's on her left side. What if you lean into that heart to heart, give her a hug, release, hold hands and say, I'm with you, sister, or whatever words that you want to say that feel right for you. And just say, you know, let's remember our cause. We really are important, and I can't wait to see you next year. But do it pupil to pupil, because inside of us, every one of us, we can capitalize on this sisterhood energy that comes together, and we can fuel each other. There's a great energy when women come together. So I suggest you do that, because inside of each of us is the little girl. We didn't die. When we were little girls, we're still the same little girl going, please, looking up to somebody to please just love me, accept me, you know, and just love me and accept me for who I am. And I think that's what's beautiful about friendship. Sometimes you don't get that from families, right? You know, I don't know about you, but you know, I've got all different people in my family, and sometimes they're not the friends that you would choose, but this is friends that you actually get to choose, because you've got so much in common. So it's a great opportunity to love the little girl inside of ourselves, and to love that when you look inside a pupil, you connect with what's called the unconscious mind, which is the real person, who we are when all the egos shut down, and we're, you know, when we're all alone sitting in our little lounge rooms by ourselves with no ego. We are just our little girl self inside of us, and all we want is companionship, love, understanding and acceptance. We'll give that to each other. You may not be able to say it, but when you look in the pupil, you actually connect to the real person that didn't grow up. She's still the little girl, and just as much as she ever did, she still needs that love and acceptance. And every time you look into someone's pupil, you connect with that part of that person, and you have a very strong, powerful influence when you know how to connect that way. So we call it pupil to pupil eye contact, not just eye to eye contact, in the women that I bring together. So I've hoped that you found that inspiring. I'm not sure whether I have any more time or not. Can somebody just tell me? How are we going? The only reason I say that is I do have one more little bit I could share with you. Okay, all right. Okay. Once upon a time, will I share this?
Absolutely, please. Yes.
Okay, all right. Up that down, Tony, yeah. All right. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who grew up at a little town in North Queensland, just south of where you are right now, called Flying Fish Point. Anyone been to Flying Fish Point? Yeah. All right. Well, that's where I come from, right? Anyway, she was really awkward. She was solitary. She was unwanted by one of her parents. She was unloved. She was abused. She had no confidence. She couldn't eye contact anybody. She didn't get hugs and she didn't give hugs, and she grew up that way. She left school at grade 10 after wagging most of it. She got a job as a checkout chick at the local Woolworths. All that was left to do was to get married and have a bunch of kids, grow old and die. However, she did get married and she had 4 kids, but the marriage fell apart. She was left grief-stricken with even less confidence. She wanted to give up on life. She lived in hiding with 4 kids for more than a year. For her and her kids' lives, fearing for her kids' lives due to the continued threat of domestic violence. She felt she lived in hell and she wanted to end it all. She was a really vacant mother because her focus was on survival. One day she had a wake-up call at 31 years old, fleeing yet again from all that she knew. She made a decision like none before. In that bleak moment of that wake-up call, she decided to reinvent herself and her life. To cut a long story short, that girl went on to self-develop, to learn to love herself, be a better mother, and was able to get off the pension after 6 years as a sole parent. She was able to create a career for herself and show her kids that anyone, even her, could change if they want to. Wind forward 2 decades, and she's now created something so big in the personal development industry to help others like her old self. Now she's on a global mission, setting 10 million hearts free, has already set more than 3,000 individual hearts free from the pains of their past and childhood. Now has facilitators in 12 countries running her programs, has amassed a group of women just like herself who crave to help other women. Just like the inner wheel is a sisterhood united in service and with a cause. The most unlikely of us who felt the most insignificant at one time can move mountains when we decide to believe in ourselves and see ourselves as worthy and valuable and part of a whole. That was my story. That was my story, coming from a little girl from Flying Fish Point. Every day still, I'm still her. I'm still that same little child who created my own sisterhood that gives me love, that feeds back to my little girl soul. It's never too late. It's never too late to give her that love. And my little bit that I do every day, it just added up to something I never would have dreamt of once. So no one would have dreamt it. No one forecast that for me. When I had that wake-up call, the prediction was that I would be dead and my children would be dead if we stayed on the exact same path. So if I can change, absolutely anyone can. Whether you have a story or not, you've been led to a cause, and through service to that cause, little old you could be that make that small yet vital contribution that is the actual difference that makes the most difference. So remember to recognize yourself, pat yourself on the back for your effort, and be there to support each other. That's my message to you today. I hope you can feel that my love that I send to you. I'm sending you a big virtual hug, and I'm looking in your pupil and hugging that little girl inside of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maz. That was absolutely awe-inspiring. And I'm sure the ladies here will take an awful lot of that home with them and use it in their own lives. Thank you.
I hope so. I hope so. Have a wonderful rest of your conference.
Thank you very much.